Good morning, students. So, in this session we are going to learn about constructors and destructors in C++. So, basically what is a constructor? So, constructor in C++. So, constructor is a special member function that is used to initialize the data members of the class. So, it is a special member function which is used to initialize the data members of a class. So, normally when we declare variables in any programming, so normally we need to initialize the data members, wherein in C++ there is a constructor, or there is a facility which is called as constructor, using which we can able to initialize the data members of the class. Okay, so let us now see the properties of the constructors. So, the constructor has so many properties. Properties of constructor. So, the first property is, so the constructor, so how in a program, so constructor is also like, it is also similar to our normal member function, but it has some speciality. Okay, so it is used to initialize the data members of the class. Apart from this particular aspect, the constructor is also having some properties, some important properties. So, the first property of the constructor is the constructor looks like the class. So, it has the same name. So, constructor has the same name as that of the class. So, the constructor name exactly matches with the class name. Okay, and so this is the first property. The second property is the constructor, it is automatically invoked when an object is created. When an object is created. So, as in the case of a normal member function, wherein the member function is used to invoke, the member function has to be invoked explicitly using the class object. So, it is not in the case of constructors. So, the constructors, we need not invoke the constructors explicitly. So, whenever an object is created for the class, which means that whenever the class is instantiated, the object is invoked automatically. So, this is one of the important property of the constructor. So, the next property is, it should not have any return value specification. It must not have, it should not have any return value specification. Okay, not even void. So, in front of constructor, so normally the member functions are it is preceded with the help of the function return type. Okay, so even at least we use the term void. So, if the function is not going to return any value, normally the function is preceded as void function. Okay, with respect to constructor, it is not so. The constructor should not have any return value specification, and the constructor must be declared in the public section. It must be declared in the public section. So these are all the important properties of constructor, and it also, so the role of constructor is the ultimate why we have to use a constructor. So it is used to initialize the data members of the class. So these are all some important properties of the constructor. So next we will see about the types of constructors. So basically there are three important types of constructor. So the first type is called as default constructor. So types of constructor. Types of constructors. So the first type is called as default constructor. Default constructor, and the second type is called as parameterized constructor. The third type is called as copy constructor. So actually, there are three different types of constructors in C++. One is default, parameterized, and copy constructor. So basically, what is this default constructor? So the default constructor is one which doesn't have any arguments or parameters. So without argument, constructor without arguments is called as default constructor, and parameterized constructor. So constructor with arguments or parameters are called as parameterized constructor. So constructor with arguments, and a copy constructor is, so using this copy constructor, the value of an object can be it can be copied to another object. Okay, so copy constructor is the process of creating a new object with the help of an existing object. So in this process, during this process, the value that is associated with an object, that value is copied to another object, another variable that is associated with another object. Okay, so that is called as copy constructor. So you can create copy of objects. So let us now discuss about the default constructor. So how to write a default constructor in C++. So the default constructor is very simple. So first you should know to write the syntax. So let us see the syntax, how to write a default constructor. For example, if I am writing a class, so class sample, so this is my class name. Okay, so in the public section, so now I am going to write the constructor basically. So the constructor has to start with the same, it should have the same name as that of the class name. So my constructor name should also be sample. Okay, so it should not have any return value specification like void, integer or float. So this is not allowed. Okay, so no return value specification, even you should not use void. So next you have to define the constructor. So I am just going to define the constructor. I am just going to write a cout statement here. So \n constructor called. So close quotes, and I can close the constructor, and also I can close the class. So this in this constructor it is not having any arguments or parameters. So hence this is called as default constructor. This is called as default constructor. So this is the syntax for default constructor. So whatever the class name you are going to use, same class name should be used for the constructor also. You should not use any return value. So this is a function. Now this is a special member function. This becomes a special member function. Okay. So that can be used to initialize the data member of the class. Say for example, in this class I am having a variable. I am having a variable in a private section. So private. So integer. Let us say I am having a x as a variable. Integer x is equal integer x. Okay. So using this constructor. So generally any type of constructor, it can be a default one or a parameterized or copy. You can initialize the data members of the class. So I can, for this variable x, I can able to assign the value inside the constructor. X is equal to 0. I can give an initial value to this variable data member x. So x is the data member of the class sample. X is the data member of the class sample. So for that class, for that data member x, I can able to assign an initial value 0. So if I can also print the value. Okay, can also print the value. So value of x is equal to x. Okay, so that value of x will be displayed here. So normally in output what we get, so while I execute this program, so before that I have to write the main function. Okay, so I have written my class, very good. So next I have to write the main function, integer main, int main. So for this sample class I have to create an object. So sample, any user defined object name I can use either s, small s or small o or small obj, anything. So obj. So the moment I create an object, okay, what will happen? The moment I create an object, so return 0, I can close this one. So the moment I create an object for this class sample obj, so the default constructor is the first one to be executed. Okay. So the default constructor will be executed and the following output will be getting. So we'll be getting constructor called. Constructor called. Okay. So the next line I have written another cout statement. I am just displaying the value of x. So value of x is equal to what is the initial value given to x? 0. So value of x is equal to 0. So this is how the data members can be initialized using the constructors, and also it can be able to access inside the constructor. So next we will learn about parameterized constructor. The second type of constructor is parameterized constructor. So what is parameterized constructor? So constructors that accepts arguments or parameters as input is called as parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So it accepts, basically it accepts arguments. So I can I can write a program so to accept argument. Okay, during whenever I create an object, I can pass the object, I can pass some values using that object to the constructor. For example, so let me write an example program. Okay. So first let us see the syntax, then we will go for program. So syntax for parameterized constructor. So if I am having a class, like same class I can take, or another class test. Okay. So just I am just going to write a constructor, parameterized constructor. So all the constructors you have to write under the public access specifier. So public colon. So I have to write test. I can write integer. Okay. So integer x. Integer x. So inside this I can assign the value. Okay. Or if I am having a variable here, say in private access specifier, I am having a variable, integer variable, say let the variable be x. Okay. So here let I can have an argument test t or test n. Okay, integer n, test integer n. So n is a variable. Okay. So what I can do is, using this parameter, I can assign the value to the data members of the class. Okay. So this is the another way of assigning the values to the data members. Okay. So here I can simply write a statement x is equal to n, means I am assigning the value of x, assigning the value of n to x. Okay. So n is the data member, and x is the data member, and n is the parameter. Okay. So here I can simply write cout, write \n parameterized constructor, parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor invoked, and also I can able to display the value of x here. Okay. So cout \n value of x is equal to close double quotes. I can simply give the variable as x. Okay. So that's all. Parameterized constructor is over. Okay. So I can close the constructor, I can close the class, terminate using semicolon. Okay. Normally in a C++ program we have to terminate the class with the help of semicolon. I have to write the main function. So integer main. Okay. So integer main, what I have to do? I have to create an object for the class. So test t is an object. Okay. So see here, so this is nothing but your parameterized constructor. So this constructor accepts an argument. So what I can do, I can pass the argument to this object. Okay. So test t, so within bracket if I give 10, what will happen is, so this 10 value will be assigned to this n, will be passed to the variable n. Okay. So now n will be 10, that value is assigned to x. So the value of x will be equal to 10. Okay. So I can simply give return 0. I can close the main function. So in my output, what I will get? So first, what value will be, what statement will be printed? Parameterized constructor invoked. Parameterized constructor invoked. Okay. So next statement, it will print the value of x. So value of x is equal to, I will get the value as input. So whatever the value during the object creation, whatever the value I am passing to the object, so that value is given to the parameterized constructor. It is and it is assigned to the data member. Okay, class data member. So the value of the class data member will be equal to whatever the value we have passed. That same value will be printed here. Okay, so this is with respect to parameterized constructor. So next we'll see copy constructor. So the next type of constructor is called as copy constructor. So it is the process of creating a new object as a copy of existing object, as a copy of existing object. So this is the definition of copy constructor. So it is, I am just going to create a new object, okay, with the help of the existing object. So how to do this? So I can write the syntax here. So first, how to write a copy constructor? What is the syntax? So let us learn the syntax first. Then we can go to a sample program code. Okay. So let me write a class which is called as add. Okay. So class add. So for this class, I am just going to write a copy constructor now. Okay. So add. So how to write a constructor? Constructor name should be same name as that of the class name, followed by, so while writing the copy constructor, so we have to use the class name again. Okay. So I have to create an object. Okay, reference object. So for creating a reference object, I am just going to use a class name, same add, and I am just going to use the AND operator. Okay. So I have to create any one user defined object. Okay, any name you can give. And a small a or and obj. I am using the object name as obj. Okay. So next what I have to do? So using this object, I can assign the value to the variable. For example, so this if there is in a private section, let us say there is a variable called as integer x. So under public section, I have to write the constructor. So basically this is the copy constructor. So how to assign the value to this object x? So very simple. Okay, so using this object, I can assign the value to the variable x. So here x is equal to obj dot x. Okay, if I give this statement like this, okay, obj dot x, then the value will be assigned to x here. Okay, the value will be assigned to x here. So I can close the copy constructor, I can close the class, I can terminate the class using semicolon. Okay, so this is nothing but the copy constructor. So this is nothing but the copy constructor. So here a variable, so this need not be an x, so this can be some other variable also. Okay, so this can be, I can give the variable name as t. Okay, I can, so the value of one object is copied to another, the value of one variable is copied to another variable with the help of the object, copy constructor. So using the copy constructor, the value is copied, the value of one variable is copied to another variable. Okay, so let us now see a program in which we can use all the three types of constructors. Okay, so basically it should have a default constructor, parameterized constructor, and copy constructor altogether. So we will have all the types of constructor in a single program. We will see how it will be executed one by one. Okay, so this program is also called as constructor overloading. So when you have, so similar to function overloading. So what is function overloading first? So function overloading is nothing but having the same function, multiple same functions inside a class. Okay, so class having multiple functions whose name are same, okay, look identical. So that is nothing but function overloading, same name but which differs only in parameters. Similar to function overloading, we can overload the constructors also. So let us see a sample coding in which we can overload the constructors. So constructor overloading. So I'm just so we have to include the necessary header files. So using namespace, so I have to include the standard. I have to use the standard namespace. Next I have to include the include IO stream. Okay. So now I can write a class. So class. So I'm just going to perform the addition operation using the parameterized constructor as well as the copy constructor. Okay. So let me have so in the private section I can have declare some variables. Okay. So integer PQ RS. Okay, integer PQRS. You can have a variable as sum also. Okay, so sum. So first I am just going to write the default constructor. So how to write a default constructor? So any constructor should be written in the public section. Okay, so first I am just going to write a default constructor. Constructor name is going to be add. Okay. So it should be same, it should match with the class name. So my constructor name is also add and my class name is also add. Okay. So within this, so this is my default constructor. So what I am just going to do using this default constructor, I am just going to initialize the values for the variables. So q is equal to 0. Okay. So P is equal to 0, Q is equal to 0, R is equal to 0 and S is equal to 0. Even I can initialize the sum is equal to 0. So all the data members I am initializing. So to know whether this constructor is getting executed or not, what I have to do, simply I can use a cout statement. I can just print default constructor invoked. You can simply give this statement default constructor has been invoked. If you want to print the value of sum, you can print cout initial value. So sum is equal to output operator sum. So this is default constructor. Next I can write a parameterized constructor. So addition of add of. So I can declare two variables, integer n1, integer n2, and integer n2. So next here I can assign the values for P and Q. Okay. So first two variables. So P is equal to n1 and I can assign Q is equal to n2. Okay. Next I can find a sum. So sum is equal to P plus Q. Sum is equal to P plus Q. Next in cout statement I can print. So I can print. So this constructor is called as parameterized constructor. So parameterized constructor. I can print parameterized constructor invoked. Parameterized constructor invoked. Parameterized constructor invoked. Next I can display the value of sum. So sum is equal to \n, sum is equal to output operator sum. Okay. So this is performing addition using your parameterized constructor. Okay, I am performing addition with the help of the parameterized constructor. Next I can write the code for copy constructor. So how to write the copy constructor? What is the syntax? So first you have to write the constructor name. Constructor name is add. Okay. So within the parameter or within the argument I have to create an object for this class. Okay. So for creating object, I have to use the class name. So class name reference object. So and obj, okay, and obj. So now I am just going to assign the values for the variables r and s. Okay, so r is equal to, I am just going to, I have to use the name of the reference object. Okay, name of the object obj dot n1. Okay, next s is equal to obj dot n2. So these n1 and n2 are used in the parameterized constructor. These two data members or these two variables are used in the parameterized constructor. So I am, for assigning the value for r I am assigning using object name dot n1, for s I am using object name dot n2. Okay, so n1 which means that I am assigning the value of n1 to r and n2 to s with the help of the object, class object. Okay, so next what I can do, I can find the sum. So sum is equal to r plus s, sum is equal to r plus s. Next I can display cout, so backslash n, so copy constructor invoked, copy constructor invoked. So next I can print the display the value of sum. So sum is backslash n, sum is equal to close double quotes output operator sum. Okay, very simple. So so this is my code for the copy constructor. Okay, so I have to close the class now, terminate using semicolon. Okay, so with this I have written the class. This class is over. I have written a class called as addition. So class name is addition. I have written the default constructor, parameterized constructor and the copy constructor. So now what I have to do, I have to write my main function, main method. Okay, so main, integer main, and call int main. So in this main method what I have to do, so first I have to create an object for the class add. Okay, so the moment I create an object for the class, what will happen? So add a. So the moment I create an object which is called as small a, the default constructor will be executed. Okay, so the default constructor gets executed, and in output what you get? Default constructor invoked, sum is equal to 0. So this is what you will be getting. Okay, after executing this statement. Okay, so now I have to invoke the copy constructor, parameterized constructor. What I have to do? I have to create another object, object b. So for invoking this parameterized constructor, so this parameterized constructor add, it accepts two integers as input. So what I have to do? I have to give two values as arguments or parameters to this object b. Okay, so now I am creating an object b. While creating the object itself, I am giving two input 10, 20. So now what will happen? The value 10 will be assigned to n1, the value 20 will be assigned to n2. So now p will be equal to 10. So I am assigning n1 to p and n2 to q. So p will be equal to 10 and q will be equal to 20. So sum is equal to 10 plus 20. The value of sum will be equal to 30. Okay, so when this statement is invoked or executed, what will happen? The parameterized constructor will be invoked. Okay, the parameterized constructor will be invoked. The value will be assigned to the variables p and q. It will be added and stored in the variable sum. So in the output you will be getting parameterized constructor invoked, and you will get the value as sum is equal to 30. Okay, so now how to invoke this copy constructor? Okay, so this is little bit critical. Okay, so I have to create an object and okay, I am just going to create an object obviously. So the first object was a, second object was b. So the third object I am just going to use small c. Okay, c is the third object. So how I am going to create this object as a copy of the existing object b. So c of b. Okay, c of b. So the moment I create, whenever I pass the object, so here I am creating an object, new object c with the help of the existing object b. Okay, So what will happen? Now the copy constructor will be invoked. Okay. Now the copy constructor gets invoked. What will happen? B dot maybe n1 is 10 and B dot n2 is 20. So that n1 and n2 value will be assigned to R and S here. So here R will be equal to 10 and S will be equal to 20. So R plus S, so sum will be equal to 10 plus 20, obviously it is 30. So whenever, while you create an object called a C, what will happen? Copy constructor gets invoked and you will be, it will be displayed as copy constructor invoked and the sum is equal to 30. Okay. So finally I can give return 0. Okay, finally I can give return 0. So this is how, so you can you can see that in the same program itself I have written all the 3 types of constructor: default constructor, parameterized constructor and also the copy constructor, which means that, okay, so this is a program, I have overloaded the constructor. Okay, same, see, you can see as per the definition of function overloading. So function, what is function overloading? Function overloading, okay, same interface but different signature. You can see same interface. So function overloading means same interface, it differs only in the signature. Here you can see what is the function name? Add. Here what is the function name? Add. Here what is the function name or constructor name? Add. Okay. So same name. So it is similar to the class name. So hence it is, since it does not have any return value specification or return type, it is a constructor. Okay. See, but signature. So first constructor, in default constructor, it doesn't have any parameter, okay, without parameter. So it is called as default constructor. So in the next constructor, I have written 2 parameters. So here single parameter. So the signature is different. Signature means parameters or arguments. Okay, same function name, but different parameters or argument. It is called as function overloading. If I extend this concept to apply this concept to constructors, it becomes what? Constructor overloading. Okay, it becomes a program for constructor overloading. Okay, so you finally will be getting output. All the constructors will be the default constructor will be executed at first. So this is the first one to be executed. Parameterized constructor is the second one to be executed, and the copy constructor is the third one to be executed. Okay, so you will be getting the output accordingly. Okay, default constructor invoked, sum is equal to 0. Parameterized constructor invoked, sum is equal to 30, and the copy constructor invoked, sum is equal to 30. Okay.